Did you diddle the Backstreet Boys, Andrew?
No.
Andrew.
Then fuck off. Many middle-aged white women have diddled the Backstreet Boys.
Yes, and the
don't doubt
Backstreet
it for a
Boys have
second.
loved it.
Did they?
I mean, groupies.
My real question is, how many bodily functions are we going to hear out of Andrew tonight?
Isn't that the real question?
The over
Only
under
time will tell.
the over under is 5.
Yeah, we heard so many of your bodily functions in the last episode, Andrew.
Body's got to function. What are you gonna do?
Jesus Christ.
And he's up louder now, so if you hear him glugging on his water.
Yeah, shout out to you. You're like louder now on the podcast. This must be so interesting for everyone listening.
Oh, yeah, I bet they love it.
Yes, you can all hear my buttery voice loud and clear.
Yo, dude,
Buttery.
I can't tell you how many texts I got the other day. I was like, yo, Andrew's got to speak louder.
I
was
know.
like, yo, I know he's just a really quiet guy, but he's got
Yeah.
a really big heart.
All my friends would be like, so I loved your podcast, but, and I'd be like, Andrew's voice, and they were like, yeah.
It's all good. He's louder now.
They were just like, yeah, it's like nails on a chalkboard. If you could just like,
No, you have a great voice. I like listening to your voice.
You have a very soothing voice, Andrew.
So the reason Andrew's voice was so soft on the last episode is because we set it to a very low setting.
oops.
And
I don't even know why was his like that in the
Don't
first
know.
place?
we should probably turn Meg and I's voice down in general because we're just loud. But
Yeah, we're pretty obnoxious.
we turned Andrew up, so you should be able to hear him better this time. We're still getting used to this podcast thing. It's kind of all the rage.
Yeah, that's true.
The rage these days. The cat's meow.
The kids.
That's a great beer. Shout out Exhibit A Brewing Company.
Ow. We love them.
Love them. Meg and I were there Friday night, actually.
That
This
was
past
not-
Friday night, Meg and I did a little co-host bonding.
We did.
We went and saw one of our favorite bands, the Blue Light Bandits, local Worcester band.
We
If you
danced.
haven't heard of the Blue Light Bandits, check them out on Spotify. They're incredible. So we went and saw them play at one of our favorite local establishments, Exhibit A Brewing Company.
Where
we
this all started.
chatted with our buddy Kelsey Roth over there. He's the general manager over there at the tap room. Good dude.
He is really good.
Really good dude. But we had a great time. Meg and I were dancing, drinking a little beer,
Very wholesome.
dancing some more.
Mhm.
We got up there with another couple. We
Yep.
definitely outshined them.
Oh, absolutely.
My foot skills were on fire on Friday night, let me tell you.
They danced like how I would imagine a piece of white Wonder Bread to dance if it were
Ooh.
animated.
Yeah, so they were Wonder Bread. What kind of bread were we?
We were honey wheat.
Honey wheat. Actually, I prefer Wonder Bread over honey wheat. That's a different story.
I have honey wheat bread at home that I picked up from
Oh, man.
Wegmans the other
I
day.
love honey wheat bread.
I know, it's so good.
Anyways.
Anyway.
Yo, guys, welcome to the show.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
Welcome to Podcast in the Sky with
Epi
Diamonds.
3. Epi 3.
Epi 3.
What
Epi
are we getting into tonight, guys?
Boy bands.
Boy bands.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're going to go through the history and the evolution of everyone's favorite boy bands. Mike is very excited.
I'm
for
very
Backstreet
excited,
Boys.
mainly to talk about the Backstreet Boys. I have a great story about the Backstreet Boys. I cannot wait to talk about it. You know, all the rage, all the favorites. The Backstreet Boys, obviously, NSYNC.
Mm-hmm.
The Jonas Brothers,
Ow!
the most recent of the greatest boy bands of all
Well,
time.
Yeah,
One Direction,
they're okay.
1D.
1D,
1D tried.
1D.
They tried.
And then some other ones, too. We have some older ones.
Yeah, we'll start. We'll start with the beginning of them.
We'll start with where boy bands came from, and then we'll work our way into the good ones that we all want to hear about.
Okay.
So,
Well, I like all of them.
Yeah, this is very much not my wheelhouse, so I will try to
This
contribute.
is very much my wheelhouse.
you can't
So.
tell me you haven't banged out to NSYNC before in your life.
Oh no, like I certainly have. Like there's nothing like just sitting in the car with all your buds and somehow fucking NSYNC just comes on a random playlist and you guys are just like, oh shit, like it's going down.
Yo, Bye 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 comes on, and it's literally like, bye bye bye.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Bye Bye
think
Bye
the-
comes on, and it's like bye 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 to my pants.
Yeah.
Maybe not that extreme, but same
Not
idea.
that extreme.
Same
man.
idea.
That's another After Dark episode.
That's another podcast after dark.
yeah.
Oh my god.
But
You
yeah,
know,
you know what I
when we
mean.
do the After Dark one, I'll do like a really, as best I can, like 70s porn intro for it.
Oh God. Yeah,
Like a bow, 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 bow sort of thing.
that sounded like the intro to a Bond film more than a porn.
I mean,
Little
if
bit of both.
it's a classy porn.
It's a Bond themed porn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I only watch
I'm into it.
classy
I'm into it.
porn.
Let's roll
Not-
with it.
None of that trashy porn. Maybe on the weekends some trashy porn.
Brazzers only. All right,
Do I look
friends.
like
We're
I'm-
getting a little.
Do I look like I'm made of
We're
money
getting
that
a
I
little
can
into the
pay for
personal
porn?
lives.
Yeah, I don't want to know you guys.
We're getting a little
I
into
don't-
the
I don't want to know your taste. In
We
terms
probably
of-
shouldn't go there.
No.
There's
Okay.
No.
listening ears
All right, talking about
and such.
dirty things. Why don't we go with the Urban Dictionary definition of boy band?
I thought you were gonna ask me to say
What
dirty
a
pop.
classic segue
Hmm.
from porn to boy bands.
Dirty pop.
I mean, same thing, right?
Go after it. What's the Urban Dictionary
Definition of a boy
Fill
band?
us and the listeners in.
So this was like the top rated definition.
Okay.
This isn't what
Okay,
I
okay.
picked out.
Does this get the most internet points, right?
Exactly.
So this is the people's definition.
Yeah, I don't know who did it. But they typed out. They said, I wouldn't even call these bands because they play no instruments and can barely sing. To make matters worse, everyone follows the same formula: the good-looking guy, the talented one, the shy, quiet guy, which would be Andrew if he was in a boy band.
Are you saying I'm not talented or good looking, Meg?
Ooh, yeah.
No, I think
that's
you're.
what she's saying.
I think you're both talented.
she
and
just said that.
good-looking.
Basically.
No, I don't.
I think
so.
you're beautiful,
He
Andrew.
is
Thank
beautiful.
you, Mike. You're beautiful too.
Look at his beard.
You're beautiful.
I tell Andrew how beautiful he is every day. I don't know where this attitude's coming from.
Andrew's feeling feisty tonight.
He is.
I'm into it.
He is.
Let's go.
Okay, so there's the shy, quiet one, the older brother type,
Yep.
aka Kevin Jonas, and the bad boy.
Kevin Jonas is my favorite Jonas.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
I mean, I like Nick Jonas just because of that horrible guitar solo he did that one time.
Horrible guitar solo.
What? You guys don't remember? That was like 3 or 4 years ago, I think.
In what song?
It was like a live performance. Maybe it was like the CMAs. I don't remember where it came from. but
CMAs. Nick
The
Jonas
country-
at the CMAs.
Yeah.
Country Music Awards?
I think. I'm gonna look it up.
Nick Jonas, can you confirm
But like
you were at the
I'm
Country
gonna look
Music
where it
Awards?
happened. But like he did this notoriously horrible guitar solo where it's just like bad.
Really?
I mean, he's not Prince, so.
No, but like it wasn't just like he just like didn't know what he was doing. Like fucking the dude from like Limp Bizkit trying to do a guitar solo, or like that really bad Lil Wayne guitar solo. It was just like
Yo, I know what song you're talking about.
like the something in leather song or something like that, for the Lil Wayne one, I think.
No.
Oh,
I remember the song, though.
well, I don't listen to Lil Wayne. All I know is he did that really bad guitar solo one time. But anyway, I'm looking up where Nick. Continue as I
I'm
look up.
gonna look up that one, too.
Okay.
Meg, keep talking.
All right, so this person also continued with the definition. She says, boy bands are creepy. Here's 5 guys in their late 20s, early 30s who sing love songs to 12 and 13-year-old girls. Boy bands make R. Kelly look like the patron saint of chastity. This girl doesn't like boy
alright,
bands.
alright, so is the ACM Awards, so the American Country Music Awards of 2016.
What the fuck was
It
Nick
was-
Jonas doing there?
It was one of those things like for those like ceremonies, they'll have like the normal like country person, they'll bring on like a pop person or a person outside the genre to like do a collab with
Not
them on a
Nick
song.
Jonas.
He was there. I have the video right here. It's like 13 seconds long
No,
of him just botching a guitar solo.
I trust you. I just really genuinely don't believe that Nick Jonas belongs anywhere near the country music scene.
Oh yeah, but like anyway, so like his guitar solo was so like horribly bad that like everyone did like a bunch of joke like tutorials of it in like the guitar community, and like people did like jokingly like over analyses of it where they're like, if you listen, he like plays off the beat here, but he's actually playing in an obscure time structure of like 16/8 or whatever instead of the
Does-
normal 4/4.
Does this correspond with the tweet that he put out where it's like, I came out to have a good time and I'm honestly feeling so attacked right now? Because that would make a lot of sense.
Excuse me. Jesus.
God damn it, Andrew. Now I
Um,
have to cut that out.
That's bodily function number 1. Mike's on his way to a new car. We made a bet on how many bodily functions Andrew would have, and that is number 1. I'm going to keep count.
Sweet.
Put a tally.
Awesome. I don't know if that tweet came out around April 2016 ish. That appears to be when it happened.
I'm sorry, Nick Jonas. I don't want to laugh at you. I just.
I do.
Nick
Don't-
Jonas has contributed many good things to the Jonas Brothers.
He was doing that song with
No,
Kelsey
I'm thinking of the
Ballerini.
wrong- I'm thinking of the wrong person.
Oh, I have no idea what that song is, but I love her
I
so
don't-
much.
It was
I
on
met
her
her.
song Peter Pan.
Oh, that's a good song. I also met Kelsey Ballerini last year when I was in Nashville.
What?
She's good people. She's also a smoke bomb in person.
Oh,
I'm in love with her.
I've never seen her,
I
but
believe
She's
it.
so gorgeous.
I take
And
your
like
word for
Pretty
it.
she's gorgeous like on the internet,
Mhm.
and then you see her in the flesh and you're like, "Oh my god, why are you married?"
Ooh,
Oh my god.
hot takes.
So hot. Oh my god.
Whoa, Meg
Many-
coming
Did
in
you
with a
see that?
bodily function.
Many bodily
I
functions
know.
going on.
I can't stop burping. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I
Burps are Burps are cool.
I've been burping all day. I don't know what it is.
It's fine. Everyone burps. Everyone poops. Everyone burps.
All right.
It's true.
So Mike, when we think of boy bands, what do we think of?
In Sync or the Backstreet Boys. Like when I hear boy bands, that's who I think of. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but more specifically.
You gotta be a little more specific. What do I think of when I hear boy bands? I just told you the Backstreet Boys are In Sync.
Yeah, but what about them makes them a solid good boy band?
Exactly what Andrew just did. The high pitches, the catchy music, the bass in the song. You go
sleek dance moves.
Yeah, the dance, the choreographed dancing,
Mm-hmm.
the crazy shiny leather clothing, and spandex and all that stuff, and then the high pitched like harmonized voices.
They're great. Oh my
And
God.
then specifically, if you really want to know what I think of when I hear boy band,
I do.
think of Justin Timberlake's spaghetti hair. His just plain spaghetti hair back in.
I always
know
thought
what-
of it as more like a ramen, uncooked brick
Yeah,
of ramen
yeah.
noodles myself.
Yeah, it was more ramen, yeah, but spaghetti ramen, whatever.
It's
It looked like pasta. His hair looked like pasta that I would eat.
It's gonna be May. I love it.
It's a good one. Except for the tradition where everyone posts that meme.
It's gonna be May. Like
that
at the
was
end
me.
of April.
I did that for
Followed up
a
with
solid 4 years, and then
We
I was
all
like,
did.
why am I like this?
because we're all pieces of trash.
I'm literal trash.
To be fair,
But there is also the close second of sharing the screenshot of When September Ends lyrics with Billy Joe Armstrong on the
Yep.
end of September
Yeah.
/ beginning of October. Which it's September now when we're recording this, so we got to get our When September Ends memes ready, guys.
that's true.
Maybe we can get Green Day to tweet back at our podcast. That'd be pretty sweet.
That'll never happen.
If we
we can hope.
Maybe he just responds to our shitty memes. You never know. A man can dream.
Our shitty memes.
I think we just gotta go to a Green Day show and just get in the front row and yell, "Listen to our podcast!"
Perfect.
I had to back up from the mic to do that. I
You
don't want to
did.
blow everyone's eardrums out.
I feel like I have
Yeah,
to
rip
burp
to the
again.
headphone users.
All right, so you want to start delving into the history a little bit, where boy bands started in the first place?
Might as well. Best to
Ugh.
start from the beginning.
Okay, so the Beatles.
Here we go.
And
Here we go.
my-
Before we started this today, I just want to make it known
It is known.
that I know our podcast is named after the Beatles. And for those Beatle haters, I know there are few, but for those Beatle haters listening out there, I'm with you.
There's-
This is the third episode we've brought them up.
There's a reason.
I love
3
you to
for 3.
death. I really do. But there better come a day where we don't have to talk about the goddamn Beatles on this show.
I promise. Episode 4, I will not say a word.
Mutiny.
I will not say
There'll
a word.
be a mutiny on your hands.
I won't say a word.
All right.
And if I do, I owe you dinner.
Ooh.
How's
Ooh.
that?
I'll let you talk about the Beatles
Yeah,
fucking
challenge
for dinner.
accepted.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Mike, what we gotta do is we gotta get Meg to talk about the Beatles when we get dinner.
Guys,
Yeah.
if you try to make me talk about the Beatles and I keep myself from talking about the Beatles, my head will actually explode.
Yeah. I may prompt you a couple times next episode.
It'll
but-
it's gonna be hard. Okay.
Like, oh, what was that song? Like, Pretend by that fella John Lemon, I think it was.
And I'll be like,
John Lemon.
I'll start screaming.
He was from that one band that had a couple songs in the 60s or something.
And they had that drummer, Ringo Starfish. And then Paul McCartney. Or Palmer Chutney. Paul McChutney.
John Lennon once introduced Paul as Paul Macharmley, and the interviewer believed him.
And then George Harrisonburg.
Harrisonburg.
He was the guy who started that show Pawn Stars on the History Channel, if I remember right.
You talking about Rick Harrelson from Pawn Stars?
I don't know where I was getting Harrison.
Oh my god! Oh, I need like 5 seconds to get over that comment right now. Holy shit. I did not think about we were going to bring up Rick Harrelson from Pawn Stars on
Well,
the
it
show.
means Rick Harrison. George
Shout out to
Harrison.
that guy. That guy
Shout
is the
out to
fucking
Pawn
man.
Stars.
I love that show.
Oh my fucking god.
Rest in peace to the old man, though. And then Chumley went to jail.
That's right. He did.
Chumley's in jail?
He went to jail for
What?
a brief period of time. Yeah,
What?
he was dealing drugs or something.
Oh,
Um,
I'm not surprised.
He does work
at
at a
all.
pawn shop.
Okay, yeah. So if we want to go with the basic main stereotypical idea of the boy bands, the Beatles pretty much were kind of the first ones,
The first successful ones.
the
at
first
least.
successful ones to come on the scene.
Well, like,
So
hugely successful. I'm sure there were other boy bands before them who were probably remotely successful.
But not to this.
Not like on the scale of the Beatles.
When you think of boy bands, you think of like epic stardom, like girls screaming, freaking out, fainting, which is pretty much, I mean,
That's
they
what
did.
happened. The Ed Sullivan Show.
And
yeah.
guess
I mean,
what? I'm about to talk about it.
I know you were. I was just segueing into the.
You know
It's
me.
almost like it's pre-written for us.
It's almost like it's pre-written
Almost.
for us.
the
Right.
Beatles.
The Beatles. Okay, so in 1964, the Beatles performed on the Ed Sullivan Show for the first time, and it was historic because it was the first time any band had performed on a TV show ever. It's true, and
That was the first live performance of any band on a TV show ever.
the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Wow, I never knew that.
I'm full of fun Beatles facts, so
Yeah.
buckle in, buddy.
Yeah.
You're in for a ride.
Mm.
See that face.
Remind me to kill her later.
So it was marked by
Well, it's on audio now, so just listen to the episode later.
Sorry.
it.
Meg's giving us some royal stink eye right now in the studio for everyone wondering.
Yep, I'm trying not to burp
Just
as well.
just move past it. We'll get over it.
So the Ed Sullivan Show, the Beatles, are some of the first people on TV.
Right, so that's probably the most important thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Is that they were like the first big band to come on the scene, especially in America, and they were terrified to come over to America. Paul McCartney always said, like, if we go to America and we fail, that's it. Like, we're not gonna go anywhere.
I
And-
think that's the same no matter what, no
Yeah.
matter which, band you are. If you ever want to make it internationally anywhere, if you don't make it in the United States, you're not going to make it
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
anywhere.
and that's weird to me. Like, why do we have such a high standard for entertainment?
We have the highest standard for entertainment because we have so much of it.
We're
That's
like
true.
oversaturated.
Think about it though. Think
Uh,
about those
yeah.
poor goddamn people in Brazil. They're always commenting on all the Instagrams and tweets and
It
Facebook
is
posts.
Brazil.
Come
Like,
to
no-
Brazil.
Like,
Come
no
to
offense
Brazil.
against our friends from Brazil who are hopefully listening to the show, but like, I don't know what it is about Brazil, but like, they're always commenting on like every band's Facebook post like ever. So like, go find like any remotely famous band you know of that like, has been on the radio before. Go to a comment section of just like any of their posts where they're announcing a tour thing, and you will see like a million comments saying, "Come to Brazil, come to Brazil,
With
come
the
to Brazil."
Brazil flag emoji too
Yeah.
as well. And I always some artists that I know and have met before, like I've done it. One of my favorite bands, OAR, that I've talked about on the first episode. Sometimes on some of their posts, I'll comment "Come to Brazil," and they know I'm not from Brazil because I've met them a couple times. So like they would see that and just think that's a riot. So I just think it's so funny to fuck with like people like that. I've commented on Ben Rector's stuff before. "Come to Brazil." Like I just think it's funny. It's a riot, but those poor goddamn people, they are always begging for artists to come there, and no one comes there. But like, I would want to go play in Brazil because those people are freaks.
Yeah.
Like they're so hardcore into the music from here. It's unreal.
Oh yeah, I mean, but I think also because of that, a lot of those countries have their own cool, like thriving music scenes. Like I saw this like wild video the other day, which is incredibly off topic from what we're talking about how there's apparently like a thriving metal scene in Zimbabwe.
Interesting.
Really?
And like they're like the big band there. They literally look like they should be in a Mad Max movie. Like they have
Really?
like leather studded cowboy hats and like pants and jackets and everything.
Jesus
like-
Christ.
Good for them.
And like they make pretty fucking legit metal, which is even cooler. But like, anyway,
So, the Beatles were made up, as everybody knows, by John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, whose real name is Richard Starkey. They only called him Ringo because he wore rings on pretty much every single one of his fingers at all times
Yep.
of the day.
We've established this.
Yes. They were from Liverpool, England. Fuck you. Okay, so John originally had a group called the Quarrymen that
He
he
did?
put together with his high school friends. At one of the shows that they were playing at a church event, that's where he met Paul McCartney through his friend Ivan. I believe Paul was only 14 or 15 at the time, and John was known to be running around with kids younger than him because he kind of was an egomaniac, and he liked to have control over situations. So he'd be like their little ringleader, and they'd all follow along behind him because, oh my God, it's John Lennon. So they would listen to him. George met John through Paul, and George was younger than Paul as well. They were school friends. They brought him along. George played his guitar for John on a bus one night because Paul brought him along and was like, hey, you want to start a new band? I have a guy who's pretty decent at guitar work. And he was like, all right, well, bring him along. And he did, and John was very impressed. And George was always known to be really sassy. He was like quiet, but he had a bite to him. So that's why John liked him so much.
like me.
Yeah, just like Andrew. Eventually, Ringo joined after they replaced their original drummer, Pete Best, which a lot of other diehard Beatles fans still haven't gotten over. I believe Pete's still alive.
It's been like a century.
I know, but everybody
Get
gets pissed
over
because they were
it.
like, Ringo wasn't even the original drummer of the Beatles. It was Pete. And I'm like, all right,
Well,
relax.
great. Well, Ringo was there when like the real shit went down. So.
Exactly. Like literally Ringo was there and then the shit went down. So like Pete left, Ringo came, and then they immediately rose to stardom. So kind of like rip Pete for
And Ringo's like, I know I hate the Beatles and stuff, but Ringo is like one of the greatest drummers of all time. He's like, all drummers like respect him and respect the style of drumming.
yeah.
And like, you know, I heard Dave Grohl talk about it one time about how you can always tell if, you know,
Yeah,
you
he
can
does,
always
like,
tell when Ringo's
Yeah,
playing.
he does like
you-
the Ringo shuffle.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
we've all seen this same
Yeah.
video
Yeah.
that we're all referencing right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and it's all different drummers
Yeah.
that do
Yeah.
it. Trey Cool from Green Day is on there.
And they're playing on the original drum set too
Yeah.
that he had, his original drum kit, which is really. Can you imagine sitting down behind the original Ringo Starr drum kit and
It-
being able to play it for a minute? That would be.
Insanity.
Megas, you would say I'd nut.
I would nut.
Yeah.
I'd nut so hard. So yeah, Ringo joined the band. They played shows at the Cavern in Liverpool, all over Hamburg and whatever. They had that Teddy Boy bubblegum pop. Let's just cover popular rock and roll songs for now. I mean, they were writing, but I mean, to get out there, they couldn't really put any of their original stuff out just yet because people probably wouldn't really have listened to it. So that's when Brian Epstein came along. He found them, cleaned them up. They landed in the lap of the late great George Martin after being shot down by every label, which we already covered.
We did.
They recorded their first album, Please Please Me, in 12 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah. Basically, Ringo said it was basically them just doing their set all over again, but in a studio. Twist and Shout, the last song on that album that was recorded, took 2 takes. And they were really lucky that they got it in the second take because John's voice immediately gave out afterwards because he was sick as a dog,
Really?
which is
As a
why
dog.
it sounds like especially raspy
Oh wow.
when you listen to it. Yeah. John was really, really sick.
And Twist and Shout was a cover.
Yes, Twist and Shout was a cover. So like I said, they covered mostly bubblegum pop songs. A lot of the writing at first was just John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and they were always considered co-writers. Like they would give each other credit on all the songs that they wrote. George followed suit eventually with his songwriting and ended up putting out one of the greatest albums of all time when he finally went solo with All Things Must Pass, his triple album. And then, of course, Ringo did some songwriting with Yellow Submarine, Octopus's Garden, Don't Pass Me By. He did like those really fun,
Yeah.
kind of like jangly songs that you like to hear, mostly sung by school children. But
Jeez.
it's okay. We love Ringo anyway. So they all pretty much contributed. The band wouldn't have functioned if it was just any single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the critics and also celebrities that are around now said that they were basically one moving part on the stage. Like you can see videos and you can't really notice it. I'm sure it looked so much different when you were in the audience staring at them doing their thing, if you could hear them over all those screaming girls. 1966, around the Rubber Soul Revolver, is when they started getting more psychedelic. That was the first time John took LSD. Their image changed, which we talked about before as well. They stopped touring in 1966, but continued to make numerous albums until their eventual breakup in 1970, which was rough. Like they had a really rough breakup.
Yes.
I watched, if any of you are really interested in a good George Harrison documentary, Living in the Material World. It's about 3.5 hours. It's on Netflix. And there's some footage of them signing all the paperwork and legal documents and whatever. And George was basically just like, I want to get this fucking done. Like, I want to get out of here. I don't want to be dealing with this anymore. So boy band breakups are already pretty rough right off the bat. If you guys want to hear a fun Beatles story, I have one where John accidentally took LSD during the Sgt. Pepper's recording session.
Do tell.
They were going to be recording Getting Better, which was a song written by John and Paul. And they were going to be up all night because they were at Abbey Road. And John reached into his little pill box thinking he was going to take an amphetamine as like an upper so that he could stay up all night and get it done. He accidentally dosed himself with LSD.
He just had LSD laying around in his
Yeah.
pill bottle.
Yeah, he just had LSD chilling out.
So he was
And it's
planning on doing it at some point
yeah.
and then accidentally did LSD.
Yeah, he accidentally did LSD, and he
You know
realized
what?
you do.
That happens. It's very common. I just did it the other day. You just happened to reach in the cabinet. I had a headache. I needed some ibuprofen, and I accidentally
Okay,
overdosed on
yeah.
LSD.
Yeah. Also,
It
shout
happens.
out to my friend Rob Weston who put me onto the story in the first place.
Shout out.
He's really cool. He geeks about them with me all the time. So shout out to
Hell
him.
yeah.
So he took it, and then he went up to George. He was like, "Yo, I'm not feeling good." And George, being such an innocent being that he was like, "You know what? You just need some fresh air. Let me take you up on the roof." John was like climbing the stairs to get up to the box where they were. And Jeff Emmerich, who was one of the sound engineers, basically was like, it looked like it was taking him such a long time to get up the stairs because he was moving in slow motion. And then when he got up there, he wasn't even talking. He was just like looking around,
Wow.
and no one knew what he was looking around for. And then he looked up at the ceiling, and he was like, "Wow, would you look at that?" And they all looked up, and obviously nothing was there. So George took him out onto the roof. John started stargazing. He was like, "Wow, aren't they incredible?" And George was like, "Yeah, they're fine. They're stars." So George, still not knowing that he had taken LSD, left John on the roof by himself.
Oh,
And
As one does with a friend that is
exactly.
severely overdosed on LSD.
And he came back down, and Paul and George, it took them a minute for them to realize what was happening. They had known that he had accidentally taken it, because you can tell just by looking at him. So they were like still fooling around, and then they were like, "Holy shit, John's on the roof tripping by himself. He's gonna fall and die." So they went up there, they got him, they pulled him back down. John was kind of uncomfortable for the rest of the time because he felt, I mean, he's tripping, so he felt weird, and he didn't want to like let the guys down or whatever. So they kept trying to record a little bit, but since it was like John's song and he was on the vocals, they couldn't do it, so they just called it quits. It was late at night. John's driver wasn't supposed to be back, but Paul lived not long down the street from Abbey Road, so he was like, "You know, you can just come crash at my place." And Paul didn't really like psychedelics. He's a notorious stoner. Paul really likes his weed, but he never really tried LSD. He wasn't into it. And he decided on the walk home that night that he was going to trip for the first time, so John wouldn't be alone.
And so he
what a
did
friend.
LSD to join John, who was already
Tripping.
4 hours into tripping.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes so
Yeah.
much sense.
So they brought him back.
That's
to
a great
Paul.
idea, Paul McCartney.
They brought him back to Paul's place, and Paul he took a dose with him, and he said it was freaky, but also probably the best first trip he could have ever had. So he tripped for the first time with John,
and then continued to do it.
a few times. He didn't do it that much, not as much as like George or John did, but
Interesting.
yeah. So
Well, that was a good story.
someday when I get to hell, I'll ask John Lennon how he
Yeah.
accidentally dosed himself with LSD.
For sure.
Okay, so let's do a hop across the pond and talk about the Beatles' rivals, supposedly the Beach Boys.
Oh,
I can't tell if that's a good. Ugh
oh,
or
that's
bad
a good.
Okay.
I love the Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys are great. So they were formed in Hawthorne, California, in 1961. The group's original lineup consisted of brothers Brian, Dennis, and Carl Wilson, with their cousin Mike Love and their friend Al Jardine. And they started pretty much straight up as like a garage band, like jamming in the Wilsons' garage or whatever. And like their dad was cool with it. He was like, "Hell yeah, boys, do
wasn't he
your thing."
also their manager or something?
Maybe at first, but
Okay.
don't quote me on it because I'm not entirely sure. I sifted through a lot of research, so my brain's kind of mush right now. So
I'll
they,
fact check it.
as everybody knows, they were known for their transcending vocal harmonies and their early surf songs. The band drew on music of jazz-based vocal groups, 1950s rock and roll, black R&B. Brian basically stepped up as the composer, the arranger, the producer, the de facto leader, often incorporating classical elements into their music and unconventional recording techniques. We'll post that video. I'll put it on my sources of the Good Vibrations breakdown video that Andrew showed me.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and you can definitely see just how talented Brian Wilson was. They gained national prominence with a string of top 10 hits reflecting Southern California youth culture of surfing, cars, romance, later dubbed the California Sound.
I mean,
Right.
they're the quintessential California band.
Oh,
You know, and they're
absolutely.
they're the
And I did
modern
look up-
godfathers of that genre.
It was their dad up until 1969, when he unknowingly to the band sold their publishing rights to the Sea of Tunes for $700,000, which, according to Wikipedia, is about $4.67 million in 2017.
I feel like that's still low to sell the Beach Boys
Yeah.
off.
Then considered an undervalued sum. Is
It's-
like the continuation of that sentence.
Yeah.
Then he died in 1973 of age 55 at a heart attack.
Wow.
Well, karma
So the
got him.
motherfucker like sells him off and then he just passes away a couple years later. Didn't even get to spend any of that money.
I
What a
mean, it's
douche.
not even that he made that much. Like, the Beach Boys are so clearly worth way more than that. Whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's fine. Now we're kind of hating on
Hindsight's 2020.
on the Beach Boy dad. Okay, so after 1964, they kind of did what the Beatles did, abandoned their original sound.
Yeah.
To come up with their own. They did more personal lyrics, ambitious orchestrations. Think Pet Sounds, like the 1966 album. Again, we're going to talk about Good
Classic.
Vibrations. I know Pet Sounds is almost every song on that album is incredible. So the Good Vibrations single raised the group's prestige as rock innovators and established the band as symbols of the counterculture era. If we're going to think about hippies, if you think about classic hippies, what do you think of? Beach bums in California.
Yep.
Like, come on. Dennis unfortunately drowned in 1983, and Carl died of lung cancer in 1998. So very few of the original Beach Boys still remain. The group had over 80 songs that charted worldwide, 36 of them on the U.S. top 40, most by any American band.
36. Yeah, I was gonna say that's a lot of
Yep.
top 40 hits.
4 reached #1 on the Billboard 100. They have sold over 100 million records worldwide, making them one of the world's best-selling bands of all time.
It's insane.
So the core quintet, the three Wilson brothers, Love and Jardine, were inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988,
Mm-hmm.
which rightfully so.
Yes.
For those of you who haven't really listened to the Beach Boys, some of their songs that are going to be on our Boy Band Evolution playlist, that's on Spotify, where you can follow us there.
You can. You can also see our weekly Diamonds playlist, where you can see all our songs we like for the week and find us on all your other various social medias and most streaming services.
That's true. Our podcast will be on Spotify. We just have to put up a few more episodes. So look for us there sometime.
Yeah,
in
we're not
October.
allowed to be on Spotify without 5 episodes.
Yeah,
so
fuck 'em.
So give us a couple.
not fuck 'em.
No, they're
Not
giving us
fuck 'em.
space on their platform. Don't do that.
We're not saying that. I love you, Spotify, and I use you every single day.
I mean, I do too.
because I do.
I'm a bitch to Spotify. Are you kidding?
I love Spotify. They're by far the best music streaming service
Oh, yeah.
on the market.
For
So,
sure.
Well, any streaming service that has us on it is the best one, if you ask me.
Yeah, but Spotify's #1.
True facts. Okay, so most famous Beach Boys songs. Everybody knows "Surfing in the USA,"
Mm-hmm.
"Kokomo," "Wouldn't
Mhm.
It Be Nice," "God Only Knows," which is one of my favorite songs. I'm eventually will play it at my wedding someday, and then "Good Vibrations," which is, oh my god, "Good Vibrations" is such an epic song. Like in terms of how it sounds, but also
You know, the story about the crazy production of it, because that was just like Brian Wilson just doing his own thing in the studio, where like
Mhm.
they was like, no, I'm gonna do my own thing, and like that was also when he was like going crazy for some reason
yeah,
that I can't remember off the top of my head. But while Meg looks through that story, I did something I've noticed as we're reading through this. I did kind of notice an interesting trend that definitely tracks, if you ask me, with a lot of these other boy bands, is they have these like very heavily producer involved like beginnings where they have like the set like sound that sells, and then they eventually get crazy experimental and or break up and get experimental.
go off on their own things. Yeah.
So, you know, just something I noticed I figured I'd point out, because it's kind of
No.
an interesting little trend in us between the
You'll
Beatles, the Beach Boys, and then when you look at some of the modern boy bands today, like the
Yeah.
Jonas Brothers are all doing their own thing, and
In
boy
sync.
bands.
I mean, I think Justin's probably the only one that's really relevant
wasn't
nowadays.
one of them is doing something, I think.
I don't remember. Anyway, do you guys want to hear about Dennis Wilson and Charles Manson?
Yes,
The
I
feel like-
would.
The
I
Beach
feel like this is
Boys.
something you definitely want to tell us about, because those sound like two categories that from what I would imagine you are rather passionate about.
It is. I first learned this. Shout out to Last Podcasts on the Left during their Charles Manson episode. They actually brought this up, which is something as a big rock and roll fan that I didn't even know. So good on them for turning me on to this story in the first place. But in the summer of 1968, Dennis Wilson partied hard for a few months with Charles Manson.
We hung
And
around
his
with a bunch of
family.
rock stars. Like that was like his thing, is he wanted to be a famous musician.
He did, and we'll get into what happened during the rift between him and Charlie Manson's friendship. It has to do with Charlie's music and his career.
Oh,
Whatever.
was
Not-
it about,
not
like,
hi-
not
not-
the crazy cult that was killing people?
Yeah, not killing people.
no,
music.
it's not that part.
He
We're not
got
going
too
to talk about
he got
that.
really too annoyed of Charlie Manson, like, hey dude, when you gonna check out that mixtape I dropped? And you're like,
No.
don't worry, dude, I'll do it.
Well,
And he's
this-
like,
this was,
well,
like,
I told you
before
about
the-
it like 2 months ago. He's like, no, I'll get around.
This
to
was-
man, I'm gonna kill your sister if you don't listen to my mixtape.
it." Just kidding, or am I?
I mean, this was before the Manson murders, obviously, but basically,
Or was it?
Wilson told his friends, "This is Charlie. He's a wizard man. He's a gas." Like,
Those words exactly.
He literally. This is a quote that I'm reading. Yeah, that's what Brian.
Wizard.
That's Brian. That's what Dennis said.
I'd be honored if someone would refer to me as a wizard of anything.
Yeah. So he
So
never really
wizard.
talked about what happened during those few months afterwards. He said, "As long as I live, I'll never talk about that," because shit got wild.
He probably saw Charlie Manson like murder people,
Oh,
murdering people.
Are you? They literally stayed at Dennis's house with him, and he gave them everything. They totally, like, completely depleted his bank account. He gave them food. He gave them a place to sleep, and in exchange, they all did a lot of drugs and had a lot of sex together. That's basically
Murdered people
what was.
together.
I mean, afterwards, when Dennis wasn't involved, yeah, the Manson murders.
Yeah,
took
but how do you
place.
know that? You weren't around back then.
Yeah,
All right,
Meg.
maybe the Manson. I don't know. Maybe
then, like-
Dennis Wilson was involved.
And then Dennis Wilson just mysteriously drowns in 1983.
The plot
The
Is that
thickens
plot
related at all?
thickens. No, I don't think so.
that we know of.
So what happened was he was driving down Sunset Boulevard when he saw these two girls, and he picked them up, and then they started talking about Charlie Manson, essentially. They never really explicitly said his name, but they were like, "Hey, we basically know this guru, and we think you'd be really into him." And
Just sounds sketchy as fuck.
it is sketchy as fuck, but, like, I
I
mean,
mean, like, I get the 60s were a different time. You know, we were too busy fighting the communists and such. But, like,
yeah,
dude,
So
like,
they-
if you just pick up two chicks on the side, they're like, listen, there's this guy we know. Like,
he was
you
a
should-
guru.
He's a guru. You should just, like, hang out with him, if you know what I'm saying.
I know. Well, they also basically was like, he also does music. So, of course, Dennis was like, whoa, cool new music. I'm a beach boy. I'm into it. So they took him to Charlie's house. They smoked a lot of pot. Charlie played his guitar.
What? They smoked the marijuana?
They smoked the marijuana. Yeah, they did.
Oh.
And they could tell that, like, Dennis was, like, completely entranced by this guy. I mean, Charles Manson had that way about him. I mean, he was a total fucking psycho.
Like
He was
most
a wizard.
psychopaths.
Right.
That murder people.
But I guess when he would play his little guitar and sing his little tunes,
About murder.
yeah, about murder. So within a few days after that, the Manson and his family they moved in.
The Manson?
The Manson.
The Manson.
They moved in. And like I said, Dennis provided them everything that they needed. And then a nasty strain of gonorrhea invaded
Oh,
the
God.
home.
Oh.
Yeah, making group sex painful and not particularly joyous. So Wilson took everybody to the doctor and got them all treated. They taught him how to dumpster dive.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So these are normal, upstanding American citizens that do not.
Well, yeah, I mean,
eat
they're
people.
reducing,
Yep.
reusing, and recycling.
Yep. So
They truly cared about the environment, apparently.
yeah. So they taught
They're
Dennis,
part of that DIY aesthetic.
they taught him how to dumpster dive, and then the food that they took out of the dumpster, they
Oh.
took back to Dennis's home
Oh.
and made him dinner
Oh.
with it.
This story just keeps getting better and better.
I thought
I
they were like
told you.
looking for like cool old furniture or something, not food.
I told you. So
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
So shit started to go south after Wilson suggested that Manson go into the studio with him and record some of his songs and whatever.
Wait, so that's when it went south, not when they were
Yeah.
eating literal food out of a dumpster?
and they all got gonorrhea. Yeah,
yeah, not when not when the gonorrhea and the dumpster food came out. That wasn't the tipping point.
Nope, that wasn't. It was when Dennis took him into the studio to do some recording, and at first Manson was really excited about it, but he didn't like all the producers and Dennis trying to like change up his music or whatever, which is kind of what producers are supposed to do. Like they're gonna make
They are to help their produce
Exactly.
the music.
so the whole family, quote unquote, they moved out. Manson and Wilson still occasionally.
What? Just turn off the little mic stand thing. Sorry.
Yeah, well, we can hear.
Everyone can hear you.
That's the
So-
point of
sorry,
a
we're
podcast.
we're
Fucking
still-
Andrew.
We're still trying to teach Andrew how to do a podcast.
I know. So, in September 1968, the Beach Boys actually recorded a version of Manson's song "Cease to Exist," changing some of the lyrics and renaming it "Never Learn Not to Love." They recorded it. They put it out on their album. Manson heard it, and the next thing you know, there's literally a bullet laying in Dennis Wilson's bed. And Manson later said, "I gave him a bullet because he changed the words to my song." So Dennis Wilson could have been also murdered by the Manson family.
That's one fuck of a story there, Meg.
I told you, I'm full of them.
It's crazy.
Jesus.
So yeah, that's
I still think Dennis Wilson's death was linked to the Mansons somehow.
I mean,
New theory.
Drowned?
he changed the lyrics.
Who dies of drowning in 1983?
First of all, a beach boy died of drowning.
Yeah, I feel like if beach is in your name, you should be pretty darn qualified at swimming. That'd be like if we found out Aquaman died of like water poisoning. Shouldn't happen.
Water poisoning, Aquaman.
Aquaman's a great song by Walk the Moon. Everyone should listen to it.
Oh, Aquaman is a great song by Walk the Moon.
We listened to that the other night.
I don't know if I know it off the top of my head.
I love Walk the Moon. We're gonna talk about them later. Not in this episode, but in another
There will be an
I will
episode.
definitely talk
They
about
could
Walk
be
the Moon.
considered a boy band. They just don't do the choreography. I mean,
but then
all-male band.
following that logic, almost any band ever could be considered a boy band.
I mean,
if
that's
they
not-
don't do
that's-
choreography.
I mean, the Beatles and the Beach Boys didn't do choreography.
No, but they had the legions of screaming women, though.
They did. They
So
sure
it doesn't Walk the
did.
Moon.
Yeah, I'm.
Go to a Walk the Moon show. It sounds like a Beatles show.
All right,
It's
well,
loud.
They're
if
great.
anyone wants to hook all of us up with some Walk the Moon tickets, we'll come hang out with you. We'll go see Walk the Moon. We'll drink some beers if you're of age, and have a great time.
If you're of age.
Well, Meg, I'm not gonna.
We will card you.
I'm not gonna endorse underage drinking on our show.
Hashtag not a cop.
I'm definitely not
Hey
a cop.
kids, you want to drink some beer at a show? I'm
Anyone-
definitely not gonna card you.
Man, does anyone have any of the drugs? I just happened to forget mine.
The
Hey kids, it's
drugs.
time to use the F word.
Oh my god.
Good song by Real Big Fish there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Also, I'm trying to find.
I want to get into fucking Backstreet Boys. And I want to get into NSYNC. I want to talk about No Strings Attached.
First, can we talk about the Michael Jackson and the Prince story?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we should definitely talk about Jackson 5 because
Yeah.
they're like,
I know how excited you are about NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Literally, Jackson 5 is standing in your way for like 2 seconds.
All right, let's talk about them quick.
Okay.
A B C.
It's easy as 1, 2, 3. As simple as do, re, mi.
Okay, we gotta stop singing.
yeah,
Prince versus Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Got it right here. I'm gonna read it right off the sheet. This is my first time looking at it. Michael Jackson showed up backstage at a couple Prince shows in 1984. The two icons whose
Right here.
Thriller and Purple Rain defined the 1980s never did work together. Later that decade, when both were recording at the same Los Angeles studio, Prince invited Jackson to play ping pong. Michael, a star since age 8 who had lived a sheltered life, didn't know how. You want me to slam it? Prince asked. According to engineer David Z., who was there, Michael drops his paddle and holds his hands up in front of his face so the ball won't hit him. Michael walks out with his bodyguard, and Prince starts strutting around like a rooster. Did you see that? He played like Helen Keller.
Yeah. Prince,
damn,
as
Hot
we all
take.
know, is
Sassy's book.
such a sassy bitch, and I love him for it. I really
I love
do.
Prince.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Big Prince guy.
Jackson 5, obviously we all know they were in another just family band.
Yep. Everyone in there, all the Jacksons, Michael and the other ones.
They're still
Tito
touring
is
in
in
the
there.
UK, I'm pretty sure.
What?
Yeah. I mean, obviously
Well,
not
yeah,
all
obviously
of them,
not all of them.
but
Meg.
yeah. Some of them are still touring over in the UK and whatever.
Really?
Last time I checked. Yeah.
Wow.
They're still
Wow.
doing their shit.
They're
Janet
cool.
Jackson's still touring after her titty fell out in
See?
the halftime show.
Thanks to your
Still
good
going
friend
strong.
JT.
So
which will conveniently be talked about in a few moments on this show.
Exactly.
dirty pop.
Yeah, so
Dirty pop.
the Jackson 5 are like some of the first black artists to really widely appeal to like a white audience in a more like radio friendly way.
Yes.
Whereas like there's certainly popular black artists before, but due to their very like approachable sound, they were like, you know, it wasn't like they were like the devil's music and that rock and roll that's gonna corrupt you. It was like, you know, just some innocent enough music that was all bubblegum poppy and stuff that parents would be like, okay, you can listen to this.
Cute little love song sung by cute little Michael Jackson.
Yeah, basically. It's like we said, he was like literally 8 years old.
I Want You Back. Wasn't that one?
Yeah,
Yep.
I Want You Back.
That's a good one.
They I don't even know where the fuck my paper
Instant
went.
classic. Just add water.
Facts.
Yeah, just to add water. So, you know, the first like 4 of the 5 singles they had landed at the top of the Billboard charts. They first started playing like talent shows in the club on the Chitlin circuit.
Yes.
They hit the professional music standard in '67 on Steel Town Records, releasing 2 labels. Jackson 5 were the first group to debut with 4 consecutive #1 hits on the Hot 100, being I Want You Back, just like we talked about, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. Then in '75, the majority of the group left Motown Records, which they're also on, for Epic Records, aside from Jermaine Jackson. Randy took Jermaine's place. They continued to release 5 more albums from '76 to '81. Then in '83, Jermaine returned from the group, and he did some stuff.
He just did stuff.
He just, you know, they made the
Just
music.
existing, doing things.
Yeah,
That's
that's
so vague.
They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in '97 and the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in '99.
Mm.
And at some point in there, you know, much like all these other boy bands, they split up / fell out of fashion, and then one of them, the talented one, went on to a wildly successful solo career, becoming, as we all know, the king of pop. May he rest in
That's
peace.
true. We love
I
you.
mean, that's so cool that he outgrew his own boy band. Like,
he did.
he's in a boy band, and then he super outgrew it. And same case could be made about Justin Timberlake.
You could certainly say that, because I guarantee you there are kids today who like don't know who the F NSYNC is, but
Yeah.
they definitely know who JT is.
But all boy bands have that one member. That
Name the one
especially-
from like the Backstreet Boys. Give me an actual name and give me like
Well,
2 or 3 of his songs.
they're still touring
Carter?
together.
Are
Yeah,
you
but-
kidding me?
Yeah.
All right,
Nick
well,
Carter was like the face of the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
but like, what did he do outside of the Backstreet Boys? I honestly don't
He had
know.
he had a small solo career.
I know he
Yeah.
did have a solo career. I just don't know like if it was remarkable enough. At least in my book, where I know anything of it. At least off the top of my head.
See,
So
but
that just could be my own
the-
lack of knowledge.
The thing with the Backstreet Boys is they're still touring as a group. Like they're still together. They're still relevant. They
You-
had hiatuses
You
because
could
of
say that Backstreet is back.
all right.
Backstreet has been back for many years.
Yes.
Already.
The reason that I think the Backstreet Boys are still touring is because they're the more popular and more wildly accepted of the two.
Yeah.
That's true.
At the time, there was a big controversy, as we've read in our research, that NSYNC and Backstreet Boys had this apparent feud that was going on.
But they didn't.
But it
They
didn't
didn't
exist.
They didn't care.
It never
Like,
existed.
No.
It was just made up to sell albums,
We're
which
going
is
on the record with that, everybody.
great-
by the way.
that's a great marketing tool. Is like, let's make up a fake feud and all sell a bunch of albums collectively. I think that's awesome.
They always have those views, though.
Wicked smart.
But I think the reason the Backstreet Boys are still bigger is because they were the stronger group.
I think so.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
for sure.
NSYNC was always meant to burn out. NSYNC was like this perfect star that had its time, burnt out, and then the planet Justin Timberlake was left over.
The planet.
And I mean, without NSYNC, we wouldn't have Justin Timberlake.
True
Yes.
facts.
Actually, I want to retract that statement. I think we still would have Justin Timberlake because what a lot of people don't know about Justin Timberlake, he was part of the Mickey Mouse Club.
He was.
He was. I
So-
do know that.
I think we would still have him. I don't think we would have had bangers or an album like Future Sex Love Sounds.
No.
That is just the most
Yeah.
incredible pop album, I
Yeah,
think,
could
of our
very much-
generation.
Could very much make a very strong argument that we wouldn't have JT in the perspective we have him today
That's
without
true.
NSYNC.
He was iconic.
So I think
What do you mean was?
for
No,
sure
it's iconic.
Backstreet Boys is definitely the number one boy band
Yeah, number one
of
boy,
the boy band era.
yeah, of
Oh,
that
for
era.
sure.
They were the number one boy band because like as they sold better as a unit, I think, than as a solo.
There wasn't
act.
one breakout star in that group. I think Nick Carter had a little bit more because he had more of a sex appeal to him, I think he had more fans of just him,
Mm-hmm.
whereas in Sync it was like the Justin Timberlake show. I mean Lance Bass too.
Yeah. You know, he dated what's her face from Boy Meets World for like a year.
I don't know.
Topanga?
Yeah.
Lance Bass did?
Yeah, before he came out.
No way.
I saw a picture of it today.
I love Topanga.
Oh my god.
Topanga.
And the picture of them together, I was like, damn, she looks so fucking hot and he looks like a
Topanga's still a
thumb.
smoke, let me tell you.
Yeah, no, she
She's
is.
still smoking hot.
Yeah, so that's a little fun instinct fact for
All
you.
this like early 2000s culture is going right over my head because I just wasn't part of that scene when I was like.
You were a goth kid when you were like 8 years old.
I
Backstreet
just was like never really listened to like pop music. That was when like I started digging through like my parents' old CDs and stuff and found out about like CCR and like Kiss and all these like cool bands.
I mean, dude, I was doing that same shit too. I was at that same time listening to Tom Petty and Fleetwood Mac and all those great bands, but
Oh,
I was
yeah,
still
me too.
exploring what was
the modern
going
more
on in the world,
mainstream
you know?
stuff,
I mean,
yeah.
I want to say I was, but I know at that time I was also like that stupid like edgelord kid who was like, man, like any music made past this date is trash. Meh.
A
Sort of
case
thing.
could be made to say you're still like that.
A
But
case could certainly be made. I'd like to think I'm a lot more open minded about that, though.
you are. You are definitely more
Oh,
open-minded
for sure.
because here's my thing. I never knew you were like this low-key Prince fan until I went
Everyone's
on your
Prince
Weekly
fan.
Diamonds playlist, which please everyone check out the Weekly Diamonds playlist. They're awesome.
They're pretty
But-
great.
The night Meg made those live, I went on there and the first song on Andrews was Kiss by Prince.
Yep.
That
and I'm
was,
like,
the second song,
This
actually,
fucking
was-
guy is a low-key Prince guy.
High
and I'm
key
like,
Prince guy.
but
I'm
he's
very
also
much-
high-key. And I'm like, I would have never pegged you as
Which is fair.
a Prince guy.
If
I
I
mean,
saw,
I take
like-
one look at you, you look like you listen to Metallica and fucking bang out to like classic rock all the time, which you do.
Yes.
But you also have this great side of you where you listen to Prince and can like
I like
really
to keep
fucking
myself
jam out.
well-rounded.
you do. I
So
think
I
you've
like
come a
to
long
say.
way
Yeah,
since you're
absolutely.
I very
Early
much like
days.
to think I have. If I would be scared if I didn't.
Shuffle the papers. Yeah. Rock your body.
Yeah.
I love how we're singing Backstreet Boys. But we're about to talk about
rock
NSYNC.
your body right.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Back streets back. All right.
Guys, that wasn't so bad.
So let's talk about NSYNC. All right. We're going to talk about NSYNC really quick, and then we're going to talk about the legends that are the Backstreet Boys. If
All
I can
right.
find my fucking...
Your notes.
Where is my mind?
Mike really loves NSYNC and
It's
the
the Pixies.
Backstreet Boys.
That was
It is
the
the
Pixies
Pixies.
right there. That was Where Is My Mind by the Pixies. All right.
I know what it was.
All right.
Well, Meg, maybe other people didn't.
NSYNC, Mike.
NSYNC formed in Orlando, Florida in 1996. Actually, they launched in Germany first before they got big here in the United States, which I find very strange. But in 1996, NSYNC launched in Germany by BMG Areola Munich. Yes, you heard that right. I just said the word areola. That is an actual name of an actual record label in Germany, apparently.
They could
Hell
mean
yeah.
something different in German. We don't know.
NSYNC's members consisted of Justin Timberlake, aka the GOAT, JC Chase, Chris Kirkpatrick, Joey Fatone, and Lance Bass.
Joey Fatone.
Hey.
Was he the fat one? Was it? There's like a joke I remember. He was like fat, like PHAT fat. I don't know.
Yeah, he was up there and compared to the other gentlemen, but he's a good dude. He's still relevant.
We love you, Joey.
Yes.
After heavily publicized legal battles with their former manager Lou Pearlman and former record label Bertelsmann Music Group, the group's third album, No Strings Attached, which launched in 2000, sold over 1 million copies in one day and 2.42 million copies in 1 week,
Whoa.
which was record for over 15 years.
Whoa.
That's wild.
That's a lot.
That's pretty incredible.
That's impressive.
That's a lot of compact music discs and
Also-
cassette
Sure
tapes.
is.
I mean, if you're an NSYNC fan, No Strings Attached is 100% their best album.
Oh, for sure. I
I
used to have a video, like on a VHS. I had a video of the making of that album, as well as like the music videos to like Bye 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 and whatever. And then it also had Britney Spears on that same VHS.
Yeah, and I also was very highly obsessed with NSYNC. They're still my favorite of the two boy bands. Either there's always a debate, but they're my favorite of the two boy bands. Just because I love Justin Timberlake,
Who
and
doesn't?
I always have loved him. So I remember for Christmas one year, my aunt got me the No Strings Attached album, and it was it changed. Like, it changed everything. It's an incredible album, still is.
Mike's life was completely flipped upside down.
I mean, it was awesome. No Strings Attached, like, was like, No Strings Attached was like the Toy Story of albums growing up. You remember Toy Story and how Toy Story merch was like everywhere?
Yes.
When No Strings Attached came out in 2000, the merch for that shit was
Everywhere.
everywhere. Like, No Strings Attached, they had the hit clips. Do you guys remember hit clips? Anyone
Yeah.
remember
Oh,
hit
yeah.
clips?
Hell
Okay,
yeah.
so I was high key obsessed with hit clips as a kid. And so the hit clips, for those of you that don't know what that is, were these little tiny miniature pre MP3 player era things that you could put a little cartridge into that would play a 15 to 30-second clip of a song.
all we
AKA
got.
they get the hit clips. They were hit songs, 15 to 30-second
So you would get the
clips of
chorus.
the songs. You would plug them in, and they came with their own headphone. They came with one headphone. So you could listen in one ear. It didn't come with two. It came with one. And you could plug it in and listen. And I would listen to that shit, no lie, all day. I would listen to it all day. And, like, the hit clips were cool. It had this little loop thing on the side, and you could attach all of your clip cartridges to the
Mhm.
side. So it was like a social status thing.
Oh, yeah.
How many hit clips you could collect. Like, if you Google hit clips, you can see there's memes of people and all the clips they collected. Like, I had Britney Spears, Aaron Carter, the
Yep.
Backstreet Boys. Like, I had a
Yep.
ton of them. And I had them for so long that I remember we were doing the spring cleaning years later, and it was much after the MP3 era. And I was cleaning out, like, this toy box that was down in our basement for many years in the room that I now live in at my house. It was like all my toys from when I was a kid, and I yanked out the fucking hit clips, and I had like the Baja Men was one of
The
them.
Yeah.
Like, who let the dogs out? It was awesome. I still fuck hard with the Baja Men. We could do a whole episode just about
Oh,
that.
Do they
yeah,
still
for sure.
do things?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I did not know that.
The
They
Baja
s-
Men are still relevant.
They still do the thing.
Their last most relevant thing was 2009 or something like that, but they're still,
They're still around.
they're
That was
still
like
kicking.
9 more years than I thought their most relevant thing would have been, but I believe you.
I mean, Who Let the Dogs Out was popular in like 2002, 2003. So
Yeah, well, generally 9.
anyways, back to what I was
Now that
saying is
clerical error has been
the
resolved.
fucking No Strings Attached was everywhere.
Was that the one where they sold all the toys where they were like puppets?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the one.
big.
Every now and then I still see some of those like appear at like random like yard sales or like thrift stores or something. I was like, oh shit, I remember these.
It was like, so the most recent thing that I can compare NSYNC's No Strings Attached album to would be like One Direction's brief 3 to 4 years of fame.
That's
Right.
exactly what it is.
So like One Direction was like huge.
Which we'll talk
They
about.
were on folders and like back to school materials. You could get a backpack. Like, you could get an NSYNC backpack back then.
Mhm.
Like, that is probably the most recent thing I could compare this NSYNC No Strings Attached era to.
No,
right?
I totally agree. Absolutely.
So No Strings Attached was incredible. So many jams on there. So yeah, if you haven't ever listened to No Strings Attached, you need to
You
like
have
pull
to.
your Spotify account up and listen to that shit right now.
Mike and I will probably bump it later. On
We
tonight.
were just like, we took a short break a little while ago, and Meg and I pulled up No Strings Attached and was playing songs off of it. She
Yep.
took a Snapchat video of me dancing to it.
Sure did.
I still
Very
fuck hard
pure.
with that album. So
It's awesome.
anyways, but yeah, NSYNC, wildly popular. They announced a temporary hiatus in early 2002. So like I said earlier, they burned bright,
Mm-hmm.
like a star, and then burnt out. It was a
Also like a star.
hiatus, and then that hiatus has never stopped as Justin Timberlake then released his own solo album and has become wildly popular. And I don't know that any of the other NSYNC guys ever got anywhere with their solo careers.
I don't think so.
Not that
Um,
I'm aware of.
I want to switch gears and talk about the Backstreet Boys.
Mike's been
Yes.
chomping at the bit.
I'm chomping
to
at the
talk
bits.
about Backstreet
Now let me
Boys.
just do a quick run through. Actually, fuck it. I'm just gonna start off with this story
Okay,
because it's fucking incredible.
I'm ready.
So, as we all know, as children, our parents, in order to shut us up, would take us to one of the two greatest early childhood fast food establishments, Burger King or McDonald's.
McDonald's.
And I remember this day. All right. I remember this day. so clearly.
So
Tell me.
clearly.
Tell me
We
what
never
happened.
went to Burger King as kids, my brother and I. My parents never brought us there. My dad was a big Burger King guy. We just, for whatever reason, never went to Burger King. So one day, my mom decided to bring us through Burger King. And it was the greatest day ever because they happened to be running a promotion. If you got one of their kids' meals, you got a copy of the Backstreet Boys on VHS.
Nice.
It was a behind the scenes for Burger King only, straight to VHS. This is how old we're talking. Straight to VHS, behind the scenes, like movie about the Backstreet Boys on their Millennium Tour,
nice.
right? And I can describe to you the opening scene of this video.
I'm
All right.
ready.
Fog everywhere. Arena. The Staples Center, Los Angeles.
I'm ready.
Shh, the fog comes in. All of a sudden, lights flash up into the rafters, and the fucking Backstreet Boys are all hanging from the rafters.
I had this video
you
as a
you
kid.
had this video as a kid. That's what I'm fucking saying.
It wasn't. I don't think it was me. It was my cousin, but I distinctly
Yes.
remember that.
Okay, if anyone else knows what I'm talking about, please fucking text me or something. I really want to hardcore jam out with people about this.
Or
So-
on our various socials, on our podcast.
I'm gonna
sites,
post.
blah, blah, blah,
There's.
blah.
It's got to be on YouTube. Someone must have found a way to record it and put it on YouTube. It was iconic. So the Backstreet Boys on their Millennium Tour, the whole tour they had really good stage stunts and stuff. In the opening, and they opened with Larger Than Life or something,
Nice.
or maybe it was Everybody. I don't know. It was the Millennium Tour, and they were all hanging from these harnesses, and they were flown from one corner of the arena down onto the stage. All of them.
That's so
All
badass.
five of them. Or what, five of them, right? Yeah, five of
Yeah,
them.
I think so.
They were flown down. Literally, girls, you could not hear anything. Girls screaming. And this was back then when everyone used to bring flash cameras to the concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's flashes going off. You can't, it's fog, and then there's just fucking cameras going everywhere. And literally girls screaming. And they get down onto the stage, and I'm pretty sure they were attached by helmets somehow. They were holding on to something, but they were attached to helmets. And then they took their helmets off, and it was them, and everyone lost their shit.
Oh my god.
And I just
Did
remember
they,
it was so goddamn iconic.
and they had weird if I kind of motorcycle armor on
Yes.
yes, that was
Yes.
the exact same fucking
Yes.
video I was thinking
It
of.
wasn't helmets. It was full blown, they had helmets, but it was full blown, I think helmets meaning, if you've ever seen Daft Punk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
They had, fucking Daft Punk helmets on. And they flew down. They got on the stage. They fucking started doing the song. It was, and they only did 5 songs. And then the rest of the VHS was, people interviewing them about the tour, and they took people backstage and saw how everything worked. They showed the rig that brought them down onto the stage. Fucking iconic. And I Googled it, and it was a straight to I Googled it before we got in here because I didn't know if it was just something Burger King was giving out. But it was a straight to VHS for Burger King customers only video.
Andrew, I just
Fucking
heard you burp
incredible.
again.
There was 2 bodily functions this whole episode.
So
We're
I just
a
wanted
solid
to-
hour in.
So I just wanted to tell that story because it rocked my childhood.
Yeah, I had
And I kept that video for years until VHS was obsolete.
I-
I just held on to that forever.
I don't know if that VHS still exists in my aunt and uncle's house. Well, they moved, so probably not. But I distinctly remember watching that exact video, and I have the crispest memory of one of the Backstreet Boys in the crazy fucking armor, climbing some rigging or something on the stage and singing while it was happening. So it was wild. So if anyone wants to donate their straight to VHS Burger King VHS to us, we'll do a Facebook Live viewing of it.
It was incredible. I bet the video's on YouTube. Some psychopath probably was
I'm sure.
I'm going to throw this on YouTube and get 1 million likes or something.
But it'll be a lot more fun if we do a Facebook Live thing for it.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
all the fans out there can tune in as Meg reacts to Backstreet Boys
Dude, it
straight
was
to Burger
iconic.
King VHS.
I can't believe
behind
you
the
don't. So
scenes.
yeah. So I remember the day. I remember the woman handing it out. So she handed the food out to my mom, and my brother and I are in the back seat. We were freaking out because we knew it was the Backstreet Boys promo. And my brother will not admit he was hardcore into the Backstreet Boys when we were kids, but I'm gonna call him out right now. He was also hardcore into Aaron Carter. So fuck off, Pat. I know he's listening. Him and his buddy listened to our podcast the other day on their way up to our beach house, and they were like, "Yo, we listened to your podcast." And I was like, yeah, okay, you're listening. Fuck you, Pat. You listen to Aaron Carter and the Backstreet Boys when we were a kid. Don't even deny that. Anyways,
Damn.
so
like a weird story about Aaron Carter, but like I honestly don't think I can share it.
Aaron Carter
I can
followed.
tell you guys we're not recording
Oh,
just
well,
because of weird personal-esque reasons.
okay.
Interesting, Andrew.
Yeah, I
And
really
it
want to know the
weirdly
story.
has to do with the very parking lot outside of our studio.
Okay, yeah, I definitely want to know what's going on with that.
I will tell you guys.
I'll tell you an
post-recording.
Aaron Carter story from like literally last year.
Okay.
Aaron Carter DM'd me on Twitter.
Shut the fuck
I fucking still
up.
have it.
No
He
way.
DM'd me on Twitter and was like, "Yo, dude, thanks for following." He probably DMs everyone that, but I wasn't even following him. It was literally out of the blue. Shout out Aaron Carter. I hope you listen to this someday. But I'm pulling it up right now. I really hope I still have it.
I can't believe that happened.
Yes, right here. I didn't even answer.
Can you
Yo.
screenshot it and put it on our socials?
Yes, I'm
Sweet.
gonna screenshot it right now.
Yes.
Just screenshotted. Aaron Carter, yo! Exclamation point. Check out my music video for my single "Fool's Gold," and then he links it. iTunes links it, and then he says "Enjoy!" Exclamation point. Winky face.
Oh.
There it is.
But the
Holy
funny part
shit.
is, I don't follow him.
He knew you were going to be on a podcast.
Aaron Carter is an actual like psionic that can see the future.
That is
He's biding his
fucking
time
hilarious.
to make it big again.
He fucking DM'd me. That's so funny. And then the other day, he followed me. Just the other day.
He followed you.
Yes.
Aaron Carter, what even?
Do you have like a like we know your name, but is your name like oddly similar to or like the same as a famous music person?
Probably not.
Maybe like a producer or something.
There's a famous basketball player named Mike Miller. But there's,
Maybe he thinks you're a famous basketball player, Mike Miller.
there's so many Mike Millers in the world that it's hard to tell if that's definitively what happened or not.
That's what's nice about having
really
a
would-
unique enough last name. That
I'm
doesn't
very
happen too
I'm
much.
very active on Twitter, so it's gonna take me a while to scroll through my noties to find this. But
Noties.
I'm just going to stick with the idea that
I'm
Aaron
just
Carter's
gonna
just really thirsty for Mike.
Aaron Carter right here follows me.
I'm done.
Look at
Jesus Christ.
right here. But he if you look at it, he follows 87.2 thousand people on Twitter. So
Wow, he's thirsty for just straight up attention.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's Aaron Carter.
Damn.
When was the last time you like willingly thought of Aaron Carter?
Today.
Well, yeah, but like besides this instance where it was relevant, when have you ever been like, man, I wonder what Aaron Carter's up to?
I would say at least once a week. I wonder if he's doing okay. Just because he was so relevant. My cousin Josh was really into Aaron Carter when we were growing up.
Okay.
I was not. I can't. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
But he was. I remember going over to my aunt and uncle's house and walking into my cousin Josh's room and seeing him like dance around the room. to
Aaron's
Aaron
house
Carter.
party was a bop. Still is a bop.
Yeah, it was good.
People all around, you got to come get it. That's a
So-
jam.
So, just like in
How I Beat Shaq. Oh, Aaron Carter. Aaron Carter should have been in a boy band. Like
How I
literally for like 3 years, he was on top of the fucking world.
Yeah, he was. While he was very young, so he got really fucked up, and God knows what he's doing today.
DMing Mike Miller on Twitter,
I guess
obviously.
so.
Clearly, he's after me on
Sliding
Twitter.
into them DMs.
So, just like NSYNC, the Backstreet Boys were also founded in Orlando, Florida, just 3 years earlier.
Whoa.
And they both had the same manager who's now serving a 25-year sentence in jail for completely stealing all of their money
Yeah, see,
and fucking
when
them over.
I first heard that this guy was in jail, I thought he was a kid diddler, just because of the nature of the business he was in. But
True. No,
apparently, he didn't diddle kids. But
He diddled them financially, which arguably can be just as bad.
Yes.
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 Hence the arguably, with a very, very
What
big
kid?
asterisk.
What kid makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year?
Exactly.
Aaron Carter.
If they could have been
Like-
set.
Not anymore.
They could have
Well,
been
no,
set
well, he's
for
not
life.
a kid anymore.
Aaron Carter's sister. I just want to point this out. I'm sorry to keep talking about this, but I just can't get over the fact. I love this shit. Aaron Carter's sister, Ashley Carter, has a fucking banger on the first Shrek album.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The first Shrek album. Shout out to my friends that I just listened to this album with last weekend. Me and my friends were in the car last weekend, and we were like listening to songs, and then we were talking about movie soundtracks. We went out to breakfast, and somehow we got talking about our friend that watches the Shrek movie every night before he goes to bed. Shout
That's-
out Tyler.
That's
Every
really
night?
Every single night, apparently, he
He
watches.
just sets aside a solid hour and a half. Like, oh, I have to have my
Well, no,
nightly
so
ritual of
he
the
w-
Shrek movie.
So apparently he watches it to help him fall asleep. It's like the movie he puts on in the background as he's falling asleep, but it's apparently every night. I'm sorry, this is getting weird. I have weird friends.
I'm left
Shout
with
out to Tyler though. I
left with
fucking
more
love you.
questions and answers.
Um,
but go on.
So apparently he listens. He like puts it on or whatever. So we started talking about that, and I'm like, well, honestly, Shrek has probably one of the best movie soundtracks of our generation. Don't.
I'm just interjecting.
Okay.
We're gonna do an entire episode.
Oh, okay.
Straight
I
up.
thought you were gonna come at me and say like some
No,
bullshit, like, oh, the Jimmy Neutron
no.
soundtrack is way better.
Okay.
Also,
no.
time out though. Jimmy Neutron soundtrack fucks.
Yes.
It's so good. But the Shrek soundtrack, I'm telling you, the Ashley Carter song, bop.
Which one is it?
I forget the name of it, to be honest with you. It's a bop. I know all the lyrics of it when it's on.
Right.
It's one of those. It's like, you know every single lyric. It's kind of like, I can't start singing Third Eye Blind Semi-Charmed Life without it being on, but I know all of the fucking words.
Makes sense.
I got you.
Happens.
I could probably butcher it up right now if you wanted, but we're not going to go there.
Nah.
No. Okay.
Sorry.
Back to the Backstreet
I'm going to go back to
Boys.
shutting up. It's
Back to Backstreet being
Back
back.
to Backstreet Boys. So the group rose to fame after their international debut album, Backstreet Boys. It was their self-entitled album in 1996. The following year, they released their second international album, Backstreet's Back. All right. In 1997, along with their self-titled U.S. debut album, which continued the group's success worldwide. They were international
Mr.
sensations.
Worldwide.
Yeah, but then they dropped Millennium and fucking everyone lost their minds.
Yeah.
That was their last good album. They,
Yep.
they had 3 good albums. Well,
They had Millennium and then Black and Blue after that in 2000, but no one fucking cares about Black and Blue.
Arguably, they only really had 2 albums.
Yeah,
All of their hits and all the songs that everyone knows were off 2 albums.
true facts.
Anything after Millennium just sucked.
Yep.
They tanked after that. I think it's because they peaked. They hit their glass ceiling,
hmm
and then they're like, well, what the fuck do we write now?
Well,
You
it
know?
makes sense because after Black and Blue, they went on a 2-year hiatus and then released their comeback album, Never Gone, in
Well,
2005.
AJ left the band in 2006.
He went to rehab.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he left the band and they went on hiatus. Is because
Yeah, but he wasn't in rehab for six years.
well, no, but he probably was still in recovery
Yeah.
and shit. I mean, can you imagine going to rehab for like 6 months and then jumping right back into the music industry?
Nope.
Like you're gonna relapse like that. Like it's
Also
gonna
true.
take you 2 seconds. So of course, they took time, and the Backstreet Boys.
They released 2 albums during that time.
Yeah,
though.
they did. They did. So yeah, in after the conclusion of the Never Gone tour in 2006, Richardson left the group to pursue other interests, and then they released 2 more albums.
I love that. I love that they say that he pursued other interests. Like, just tell us he did drugs. Like, it's like he left the group to pursue other interests, and his interests happen to be cocaine and strippers. Like, just
Eh.
fucking say it.
Is
you
that
know?
actually true?
It's a
No,
very
I
Frank
have no
Reynolds
idea.
thing
See,
of him
when
to
I
do.
when I hear like pursuit other interests, I think it's like one of those things. Like he's like, you know what? My real passion is theater, and he tried to become like a Broadway actor.
Nah, I can imagine him being like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna make me some bomb ass pottery, and then he goes to like some little secluded like cabin in Nevada, and we just find him with a big ass beard like a few years down the road, and he's making these beautiful pottery.
Taught himself how to play the
Gold.
banjo
Yeah,
in his spare time.
He's now part of a 13-part folk punk band.
That's-
They also all their albums are literally one pressing of one vinyl record only, and you can only
incredible.
find it by going on a geocaching treasure hunt.
Good news though, Richardson rejoined the group in 2012 indefinitely. And then they celebrated their 20th anniversary. Hell fucking yeah, Backstreet Boys, the only boy band that's still touring today.
Mm-hmm.
What
But
champs?
I think the craziest thing about their career is that they fucking collabed with Florida Georgia Line.
Yeah, they.
Like- I love Florida Georgia Line. I'm a huge FGL guy, but what the fuck?
Okay, so they collab with Florida Georgia Line, but in sync, like I was listing off to you earlier, they recorded with Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Nelly, Janet Jackson, Phil Collins, Celine Dion, Aerosmith. Like
Celine Dion.
they were all over the place too. Everyone loves boy bands. They record with the weirdest fucking artists that you would never
I
expect.
think it's a lot of like those artists want to record with those boy bands because they're like, hey, maybe these crazy young people will look into my music now that I'm on the CD with this young hip band.
Oh my god, it's like when Kanye and Rihanna did that
If
song
you're
with
Stevie
Paul McCartney,
Yeah.
and everyone was like, "Oh my god, they gave that little old man his 15 minutes of fame." It's like that shit all over again.
Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of.
I'm all because of one of our many supporters, Christian Gentry, put this like amazing like Kanye West conspiracy theory in my mind about how he's gonna like go mentally insane and like go
Has-
into seclusion for 20 years.
He's
Kanye West is already
Yeah.
mentally
No, but
insane.
like
Yeah.
to the point where people actually like do something about it. They're not just like, oh, it's Kanye being Kanye. They're gonna be like, you need help.
okay. So we're gonna find
I mean-
Kanye in a few years in a cabin in Nevada.
No. So
making
this
pottery.
was, as far as I remember from my electroacoustic music composition classes, the theory was that like he's gonna like just drop out the face of the earth, delete all his social media. He's not gonna do any interviews, and he's gonna like go to France or something and like live in like a monastery just to like be in seclusion, and then like 20 years like this like electronic like obscure music album is gonna drop and just fucking rock the world, and it's gonna be by some like stage name, and it's actually just Kanye West
Oh my god!
or something along those lines.
Look at Mike's face.
This sounds like something Gentry would say.
It's one of those things that's just
Without
crazy.
a
We
enough.
need to
fucking
have
breath.
him on the podcast.
He asked me the other day.
100%.
he
We're
came-
calling him tonight.
He came
I'm
into the library and he was like, "So, can I be a guest?"
fucking,
Yes,
dude, he is 100% the first person I want on this podcast.
absolutely.
Without a fucking doubt.
Okay,
Absolutely,
guys, you guys are gonna know Chuck
Chuck.
Chuck Gentry.
Gentry. Chuck Gentry's coming on the show.
You're gonna love him.
What's up, Chuck? No, we're definitely having him on. It just needs to happen. He's just one of those guys that we all
knows
have this
just
common
so
thread
much.
with him. He knows all of us personally,
He
actually.
does.
Yes.
We were all of his students at one
Um,
point or another.
Yeah.
And he's just a badass motherfucker. Like, he knows so much about music. It's insane. And he
facts.
makes his own music, and he's... Oh, dude. I
It's
can't
out
wait.
there.
I can't wait. That's going to be a fun episode.
All right. I want to list off some weird Backstreet Boys / NSYNC facts
Do it.
that I think not
Go.
a lot of people are gonna know. So, we kind of already talked about this, but Perlman, the manager for Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, is currently facing a 25-year sentence for completely almost ruining their careers. The Carter's sister, Leslie, she died of a drug overdose at the age of 25, and Nick didn't attend the funeral. He didn't go because of his tension between him and his parents, and also
Wow.
him and Aaron. But yeah, the Carter family is notorious for substance abuse. So yeah, he didn't go, but he also said it was the most horrific thing that has ever happened to him, which, like, no fucking shit, Nick Carter. Of course your sister dying of a drug overdose is the most horrific thing that's
I
ever
think the
happened
most
to you.
horrific thing that happened to Nick Carter was that he dated Paris Hilton briefly.
Yeah, that's
Ruined
true.
his life.
Poor Nick Carter.
That's true.
She ruins lives.
They
100%.
also, one of their former group members / people who worked with them in the production, Daniel John Lee, he died during the tragedy of 9/11, and they remember him very fondly, and they took a few months off
Wow.
after he died as well.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then right after that is when AJ started going into all of his drugs and shit. So the two of those combined, that's why they went on that hiatus for a little while. And then Nick Carter's actually been accused of sexual abuse
Oh, yeah.
by his former girlfriend, Melissa Schumann. Obviously, it hasn't been proven, but it hasn't been disproven.
Yeah.
So, and of course, he's going to be like, it's not real. But honestly, who fucking knows? At the end of the day, who knows? NSYNC, it's an acronym for the last letters of each of their first names. And it was actually Justin's mom, Lynn, who came up with the idea.
That's crazy.
Which
How
is
cute.
It's super cute. Justin actually thought that JC had the best voice in the group.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't think that he had the best voice out of all
Oh,
of them.
Justin Timberlake definitely does.
Yep. Joey was actually the first member of NSYNC to find out that Lance was gay
Mhm.
right before Lance came out to the rest of the group a few months later.
Mhm.
And then little spicy tidbit of drama. Wade Robson, the band's choreographer, is the one that's rumored to have had an affair with Britney Spears while Britney and Justin were together.
Really?
And that's why they broke up.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Crazy. Also,
Yeah.
probably true.
Absolutely, probably
Who
true.
knows?
Like,
Britney Spears was a fox back then. Still is.
She still is a fox.
She still got it.
Oh my god.
She just came. She was on her comeback tour recently.
She was,
Yep.
yeah.
And not like in terms of touring, which I know she did tour, but I'm talking comeback tour like your come up. Like you come back from a really horrific thing like Britney Spears and whatever year it was 07, right?
Somewhere around there.
The year that she had her breakdown, like that
mid-2000s.
meme that like if Britney Spears can survive 2007.
All right, so those are our late 90s, early 2000s boy bands. Can we please talk about the Jonas Brothers?
Yeah,
Meg,
that's
talk
it,
about the
that's it.
Jonas Brothers.
Jonas
Meg.
Brothers. Go ahead.
Lay it
Let's
on
go.
us, Meg.
I loved and still love the Jonas Brothers as a band so much.
They're gonna do a reunion tour
for
at some point.
anyone who knew me during 2007, 2008, when they were at their peak, my bedroom, the walls were plastered with pictures of Nick Jonas.
Oh, you were that bitch?
I was that bitch. I loved him
Classic.
so much. And that's when he still had the little fro going on.
Almost as classic as his amazing guitar solo that we discussed earlier, I think.
I will never be over my love of Nick Jonas. I mean,
You will when you hear him destroying
do
that guitar solo.
So they were formed in 2005, and obviously we all know them from Disney Channel and them hooking up with those Disney Channel stars and whatever. Did you know they had I've totally forgot that they had a fourth brother. The littlest brother. They have a tiny little baby brother who did some voice acting in Ponyo.
That's right. I
Yep.
did forget about that. I remember that.
Yep.
I remember that now.
The little Jonas. Yeah, they had a little. I mean, he was too young to be part of the band
What's
or whatever.
little Jonas's name? You can't just leave me hanging.
Frankie.
Frankie Jonas.
Frankie Jonas.
He was in the movie, wasn't he?
They call him the bonus Jonas.
The bonus Jonas. Oh my god.
Yeah, so they call him the bonus
That's
Jonas.
amazing.
That's rough.
Terrible, but amazing.
So yeah, during obviously the summer of 2008, that's when we had the Disney Channel original movie Camp Rock, and then
Camp
its sequel
Rock.
Camp Rock 2,
Coming
the
to a
final
theater.
jam.
Yeah.
Remember
this
that?
summer.
So yeah, they had the series Jonas, which they rebranded as Jonas LA after the first season, and then canceled the second season.
Yeah, I think that's
Wait.
why I don't remember it because it was literally on TV for like 2 months.
I
Yeah.
think I do vaguely remember it as Jonas
They
LA.
lived in like a revamped firehouse, and it was just the three of them, and they went to high school.
no parental
No.
supervision.
No parental supervision.
Maybe I don't.
Classic Disney
Maybe
Channel.
I don't.
Classic Disney
See, I didn't
Channel.
watch Camp Rock, but I watched Jonas, so that tells you. That tells you.
On the vein of
Um,
like shows that got canceled like as soon as they started, wildly off topic, but do you guys remember the Geico Cavemen series of commercials?
Yes.
Do you remember like the show the Geico Cavemen had? It was literally like 3 episodes.
No.
It was
I also
so bad, but as far as I remember, the only ratings were everyone was
Oh,
like, dude, you
my
gotta watch
God.
this absolute dumpster fire. That is the Geico Cavemen
Oh my
like
god,
sitcom.
I love that. That's a great marketing ploy though.
Yes.
Shout out to
awesome.
Geico.
So-
Please sponsor
Oh yeah,
us.
no, like we will tell people that they can save 15% or more on car insurance. 15 minutes or less at geico.com.
Oh my
But
fucking god.
You just gave them free advertising.
You
dick.
sure did.
but if you guys sponsor us though, saying
True.
I will rescind my comments about that sitcom you guys had about your fucking caveman.
Okay, back to the Jonas Brothers. Not anymore with the Geico Cavemen.
Okay.
So they
You could argue they were a boy band. I don't know if they made any music. They were a bunch of dudes just hanging out in the fucking prehistory eras.
I'm fucking done with you right now. Okay, so the Jonas Brothers released 4 albums. A Little Bit Longer was my favorite one, I think, if I remember correctly. I haven't listened to any of them in a really long time, but I'm
and
pretty
you call
sure.
yourself a fan.
Yeah, we're burning up in this place tonight.
Par's getting loud, and we're feeling right.
You got it.
Yeah. So yeah, A Little Bit Longer was my favorite one. So in 2008, the group was actually nominated for Best New Artist at the 51st Grammy Awards
Really?
and won Breakthrough Artist at the American Music Awards.
They also won a ton of Nick Teen's Choice Awards.
They all of them. After a hiatus during 2010 and 2011 to pursue solo products, the group reconciled in 2012 to record a new album, which was canceled following their breakup on October 29th, 2013. But they have sold over 17 million records worldwide.
That's crazy.
That's not terrible. I have some cool, fun Jonas Brothers facts too. Do we all remember their little purity thing they had going on with the other Disney Channel stars?
No.
Okay, so the Jonas Brothers, like Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, they all had fucking purity rings
Oh.
This does sound
for
vaguely
a while.
familiar.
Yeah. But when Joe was 20, he broke his chastity promise with Twilight star Ashley Greene.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
They
during
had the
during their
premarital
relationship.
relations?
They sure did. I read a quote where he literally tore apart his roommate's room looking for condoms.
Oh my god.
And when his roommate came back, he thought he had been robbed because Joe like completely tore the place
oh
apart.
wow.
Dude,
I know.
You
Oh.
gotta get it. You gotta get it.
Poor
Yeah.
Joe.
So the band's breakup was a lot more difficult for the bandmates than they made it seem publicly. It was actually Nick's idea that they break up.
Mm.
He has been quoted that he hated becoming famous so young. He hated starting a band with his brother so young, and he just kind of wanted an out for a little while to just like breathe. And Joe,
I mean, he's had the most successful
Oh, yeah.
of the solo careers.
but Joe is also in a new band. You know, they did Cake by the Ocean.
Yeah, Dance.
Yeah.
That song
Cake
about
by
eating
the
booty.
Ocean. Yeah, exactly. So Joe said that when they broke up, he didn't know whether to cry or to punch something because he felt like they were throwing like everything they'd worked for away, and he took it really hard.
yeah.
Which, I mean, now that I think about it, it does make sense that Joe was the most emotional one
Oh yeah.
out of all of
Well,
them.
he's the front man too.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
without
that-
a doubt.
That gets to your head.
Yeah, that's true. Joe was actually really into punk rock music, and he originally wanted to get into a career doing punk rock, even though he was raised in a really religious Christian family, you know, being a pastor's son. He said he loved being in there, like in the concert, in the pit and whatever, and just watching the lead singer completely dominate the stage, which you can see a lot in his own work, in his own performance. He's definitely the
Mm.
frontman type. He loves to command the audience. He actually recorded a solo album during that time, but it never saw the light of day.
Wow.
It was never released. Yeah, he explained that it was kind of a Hall and Oatsy kind of feel with a Freddie Mercury vibe.
Interesting.
Yeah, who's actually one of his biggest influences. Is
Freddie Mercury.
Yeah,
Wow.
but the record label nixed it. They said the songs were too weird and sounded like demos, which is sad.
Interesting.
I should tweet at Joe Jonas and be like, "Give me your solo album."
Release the solo album.
Give
or
it to
you
me.
Die.
And then the Jonas Brothers, a patriarch, Kevin Jonas Sr., he actually was battling colon cancer,
Oh wow.
but he's now in remission.
Shout out.
There's some Jonas Brothers. Oh my God,
Interesting.
I fucking love the Jonas Brothers. I love recording, but I can't wait to get out of here just so that I can jam to the Jonas
Yeah.
Brothers.
And I
Are you
mean,
saying
that
you
being
You're
said,
not excited to go home and watch the 6th episode of Cavemen that exists?
No,
Damn.
I'm gonna jam to the Jonas Brothers.
we should talk about obscure TV shows at some point. I think we could go on.
We definitely could.
There's also one other boy band that needs to be mentioned here. I don't want to talk about them just because I don't like their music, but One Direction.
we have to mention One
1D.
Direction. If we don't, then
not
like, it's
not to be confused with the cover band One Erection. In One Direction, they've just commanded, or they did recently. They're not together anymore, but
I mean, they had kind of like what NSYNC had. They blew up really fast, and then they were out super
well,
fast.
who was the first one to leave One Direction? Was it Zayn?
It was
I
Zayn.
think it was
I
Zayn, yeah.
actually I have some tweets.
and then
between
Niall,
Zayn
and then Niall
Lewis.
left, right?
Yeah, and he does solo career. I've listened. Some of Niall's solo stuff is really good. Harry's solo stuff, I'm kind of like.
Eh.
Harry was I feel like the breakout star of that group,
Oh,
but he
for
hasn't.
sure.
He got a late jump to it.
Yeah.
Like Zayn left, did his solo thing.
Mm-hmm.
Niall left, did his solo thing, and then Harry Styles just bopped around, dated Taylor Swift for a little bit, and then it was like, "Fuck,
Oh,
I
that's
should
right.
make some
That
music."
happened.
Mm-hmm. He dated Taylor
Um,
Swift. He also dated Kendall Jenner.
Huh.
Taylor Swift, I just want to point out, is the good luck Chuck of the music business. Everyone that dates her ends up having a successful
Yeah.
relationship.
Speaking of Taylor Swift, do we all remember how she wrote that song "Mean" about Joe Jonas because he broke up with her in a 30-second phone call?
That's about him?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
She's got some really cool fucking songs about Dear John, about John Mayer.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she's
So yeah,
got some really cool shit.
Joe Jonas broke
Don't
up.
fuck with her. She'll
No.
write a great bop about you. Much like Adele does. I mean, she wrote a whole fucking album about her.
Although I don't like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
a Swiftie.
What? Meg, John will kill you.
I don't care.
our friend John is like a diehard T Swift fan, which like again, looking at him, you would not know. I was his roommate for like 2 years, and then he starts bumping to like 1989
Yeah.
by Taylor Swift, and I was like, what?
Usually when he's drunk.
No, he was sober at one point doing it too. I
mean,
think.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I fuck with Taylor Swift. Like, I went and saw her on the Red Tour. Like, big. I'm a
It's just
low
one of
key.
It's just funny because he is like normally like his music is like Rage Against the Machine and
some
like,
weird obscure Russian. I don't even know what he plays.
Mac Sabbath, the McDonald's themed Black Sabbath cover band.
I love them. They're so funny.
Okay, we're getting off topic. One Direction, gentlemen. That's where
The
we're
direction we need to go.
I
One
yes,
Direction.
One
I'm really
Direction.
exhausted from talking about everyone else, and I just don't like them. So
at. I mean, I don't like them either, but we have to at least mention them. I mean,
we did.
Yeah,
we
while,
did.
while talking about boy bands, you can't not acknowledge how like wildly popular they were. Like every now and then, I still see like those chicks from like high school that are way too into them on Facebook. That just like share memories for like each other back. Oh my god, remember that one time we went to the 1D show, still like mourning their loss or whatever. It's like Jesus Christ.
I once interviewed a former Bruins player,
Mm-hmm.
Dougie Hamilton, a few years ago,
Uh huh.
and I asked him what song he loves to sing in the shower most, and he said, "Story of My Life" by One Direction.
Story of my life.
Yep. He didn't even hesitate. I was like, "What song do you sing in the shower?" He's like, "Story of My Life," and I was like, "Dougie, you're like a 6'3" ginger, jacked up man, and you sing "Story of My Life" in the shower to yourself?"
Yikes.
And he was like, "Yeah." Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I trust
Yes.
you. So yeah, Zayn was the first one to leave. In total, the band has sold over 50 million records.
Jesus
worldwide.
Christ.
It's because all the girls fucking love them. Zayn, after leaving,
All the girls say I'm pretty fly for
It
a
was-
white guy.
he had a lot of bad blood with the rest of the guys after he left. Like, I have a few tweets between him and I don't know if it's Louis or Lewis.
I don't know.
Whatever
You're
his
barking
name
up
is.
the wrong tree on this one.
He said, remember when you were 12 and you used to think that those Mac filters for your pictures were cool? Haha, some people still do. And he was like basically doing a riff on Zayn's like Instagram posts. And then he goes, Jesus, forgot you were such an in-demand producer. How does it feel to be riding on the back of somebody else's career?
Wow.
And then Zayn tweeted back at him, remember when you had a life and stopped making bitchy comments about mine? Like, it's so salty between them. And they weren't really friends to begin with. Simon Cowell kind of pieced them together on the British X Factor
It's true.
show because none of them would have made it
No.
solo career otherwise on that show, I don't think.
Which was one
That's
of those.
how they became One Direction?
Yeah, you didn't
they were,
know that?
They were like cobbled together on X Factor because Simon Cowell's like, you guys are all really talented and you're okay on your own, but
And-
together
oh.
you have like the look and the sound because he's Simon Cowell and he does that.
Yeah.
Which
And this happened all on the show?
What was?
No,
No,
they
he, like,
formed on the show. He put them together. He was like, I don't want you guys as a single act. What we're going to do instead is
So
we're
they
going
all auditioned singly before the show aired.
Yep.
He put them together, and then the show aired with them as a group.
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
And did they win?
I don't know.
They either won or they got super fucking close to it because
Well, that's like, I mean, anything with like those music shows. Like you think about the mega artists that came out of those. I mean, I don't really believe in them. I think it's kind of a load of crock of bullshit.
yeah.
But I mean, you look at the people that almost won.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Daughtry,
Yeah.
notably, he's probably one of the most famous almost winners of that show
I mean,
of all
you have
time.
Adam Lambert who now gets to tour with Queen.
Yeah,
like,
that was American
no-
Idol though.
Oh, it's the same idea. Simon Cowell's literally on both shows.
I mean, I don't think
Look,
we
Adam-
can get into
Adam
Queen
Lambert
and
didn't
Adam
win,
Lambert.
right?
No,
he came in second
David
place. or third
Archuleta
place.
won.
Oh, David
Remember
Archuleta.
Crush?
Oh, yeah.
my god.
Do you ever feel
Yeah.
when you're all alone?
Well, there you go. Did you know that there's an entire Tumblr page dedicated to Harry Styles' bulge?
Yikes.
Well, Meg gets Tumblr, so like anything's on the table.
Yeah. Although
Anything goes on Tumblr.
I think the most notable fact that I pulled up was that Liam,
Oh, I forgot about
he's
Liam.
actually kind of a hero. In 2013, he saved a friend, Andy Samuel's life after a freak gas fire that resulted in Samuel's entire body being engulfed in flames. And that same year, Liam took his life into his own hands when he confronted a group of soccer players at a London nightclub over their treatment of a waitress. The soccer players backed down because, he I mean, that's crazy.
Was he famous then?
Yeah, this
Oh,
was
wow.
yeah. And then in 2013, Liam saved Calvin Harris from being hit by a little person driving Miley Cyrus's insane birthday party, where she'd hired a group of little people to reenact her MTV Music Video Awards performance.
That's awesome.
So, shout out to Liam for being the most stand-up guy out of
Liam's
all of them.
badass, Yeah.
He's like
Jeez.
saving everybody
Nice,
left
nice.
and right.
Mad props.
So he's probably the only genuinely good person
Yeah.
out of that whole group.
It's crazy.
To be fair.
But I know that it was that whole thing of One Direction of how they're like literally pieced together like for the sake of selling music that like very much contributed to my hatred of like new music for a while. Because
Yep.
I was like, well, this is garbage. These guys aren't even like legitimately trying to make music. There's a bunch of dudes that like got put there to make money.
Pretty much.
Insane.
Which I mean, at the end of the day, is most boy bands aside from like maybe the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and like I not so much Jackson 5 because they were also there to make money because that was like Motown's whole thing, which
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about when we talk about Motown.
Oh, for
Whenever
sure.
we talk
when
about
we talk
Motown.
about Motown, disco, funk. We'll have a
Funk.
whole episode for it.
Yes.
Andrew loves the funk. I guess that's where we're going to close out the show tonight.
Yeah,
for
sounds
now.
good to me.
We covered a lot of ground today, gentlemen. I'm really proud of us.
We did, and we didn't get totally off the rails most of the time.
No, not totally.
We're going to
but
try a lot
little bit.
harder.
To get off
Maybe.
the rails or stay on the rails.
Both.
Both.
Sweet. Yeah, like
Um,
tag any of our pages and like some cool videos you
Yep.
see. Send us cool videos, or
It's-
if you have like a cool idea for a topic, send it our way. We'll, if anything, we won't probably get to it right away, but can always think we can keep on the back burner or work into an episode.
Oh, definitely. We'd love to give you guys shout outs.
Yeah, of course. If you send us like a killer topic, we'd be like, ooh,
Hell yeah.
friend of the show,
Absolutely.
Joe Schmo said we should talk about prog rock, which we should talk about.
We
'cause
will
prog
talk
rock's
about prog
huge.
rock.
Yes,
Oh,
we will for
absolutely.
sure.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Prog rock for sure.
So, yeah, guys, stay tuned, subscribe, like us on all your social media platforms, and thank you for listening.
Yeah. Good night. Stay safe.
Don't do drugs.
Or do drugs if that's your thing.
Do-
Just don't
do whatever
do
you
the
want.
bad drugs.
Just love everyone.
Love
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah, spread
because
love,
all you
spread
need is
peace, all
love.
that good stuff.
Awesome, guys. We'll see you later.
Good night.
Bye.
Night.